everyone. This is pretty much going to be kind of a new start to everything. So I'm going to start this whole thing off by saying that yes, I am white. Yes, I am a Christian, and yes, I am a male, and yes, I am straight. So while people who believe in misogyny and complain to patriarchy in the first world, or the modern day Western civilization, you may now begin writing your hate comments. I will wait patiently to read them all, and I will more likely respond to every single one if I do get any. I don't expect these videos to go very far, honestly, because, well, yeah, I just don't expect them to go very far. So, basically, today's topic is going to be the differences between men and women. And, this is based off what I can remember from high school and some articles I got pulled up in the background. I kind of skimmed over them, so I kind of know what I'm looking for. In the aspect, I don't claim to be a professor by any means. I do not claim to be anything to this or a normal old dude sitting down talking about the differences between men and women. Now, let's start this off by I'm going to go back to the days when I went to high school. And one of the biggest things I remember in high school, if I had to take Everyday Living twice, I can't tell you how fun it absolutely was to see the blue waffle twice. Anyways, continue on. Now, in both these classes, we had a guest speaker come in every time to explain the psychology, the mental differences between men and women, and the big difference when it comes to how we play things in our head and how we do things in our head. Now, and this is the best and simplest explanation that I can give for this. I don't like complicated things. I don't like trying to make things sound complicated. I'm a simple guy, and I like things to be simple, plain and straightforward, basically. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you the same example that our guest speaker gave, both times, mind you. Now, this wasn't the same guest speaker. This was in two different areas of the United States. I had one here in Omaha, Nebraska, a guest speaker that came in and talked to us about, and then one in Minneapolis, Minnesota, talk about it there. And they gave pretty much the exact same thing, so I'm not going to be differentiating completely based off what they said, because they said pretty much all along the same things. Maybe slightly different words were used, but overall it was the same. So, when it came down to the way that men and women think, women, the best sample she gave was she literally took a big bowl of spaghetti noodles, angel hair noodles, boiled them up, and slapped them on a plate. And said, this is how women think. When they think, it's more intertangled and intertwined, which is why women tend to do better in things like English studies. Because English as a whole, in the rules of the language, tend to intermingle and they come together. Like it is a big, giant plate of confusion, basically. I'm horrible at English. I can hardly write a paragraph without probably screwing up 20 different things, and I'll admit that. And we'll probably see these in all the well, not even in my comments, but like in descriptions of stuff. So basically, women, they tend to gather everything around them and kind of mush it all together into an intricate web of rules and thoughts. And women tend to use, and this is study, and I got a webpage in the back. Like I said, I skimmed over it, read a bit of it, and it says that women tend to use both sides of their brains, while men tend to be more on the left side when it comes to that. Now, not to say that women can't use the left side more than the right, and it's not saying that men can't use the right more than the left, but when it comes down to it, on a basic hormonal level, basically, in the way that our brains function, most men will tend to use the left side, while women tend to use both. Now, the reason why this is important to realize is because the left side of the brain is more logic, it's more compartmentalized. This is why men tend to be better at math. Because math, while there's a lot of rules to math, it tends to be very it's very compartmentalized. That's not even a word. But, like such things as algebra, geometry, things like this. while to some extent they do relate to each other, they also have their different equations that equal out to different things. So, like I said, in the language, in language arts, it is different because the way that works is that the English language has a bunch of rules that intermingle with each other and are connected to each other when it comes to writing paragraphs, phrases, or even so much as writing poetry. So, that is the number one difference. And that is kind of a big one when you really think about it. So, there's that. And like I said, I got a webpage right up there. If you guys want a reference, I will be posting that in the description. I will. So, because I like the idea of being able to, show it right there. Now, when it comes to human relationships, the biggest thing, and especially in my life, I tend to have no idea what's going through a woman's head. And I will admit that I have no idea. I am confused. I am mind boggled sometimes at hints. I am horrible at taking flirting because I don't know what flirting is. I'm one of those people, when I flirt with a girl and she flirts back, I don't know where to continue from there because it is foreign to me and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So therefore, I ramble, say something stupid, and tend to look like an idiot. Not that I'm not, but I am. Anyways, so when it comes to relationships, men and women tend to have a different approach. Women, and once again, this is all based off of websites from the Ohio University. It's a 2009 article, and it's called The 10 Big Differences Between Men's and Women's Brains. So, and I'm going to read the whole paragraph for number one. I kind of already went on number two, which was the left brain versus both hemispheres, which is where we talked about the way that the mind works. So let's go for human relationships. And like I said, for right now, I am pretty much quoting exactly what this says. All right, number one, human relationships. Women tend to communicate more efficiently than men, focusing on how to create a solution that works for the group, talking through issues, and utilizes nonverbal cues such as tone, emotion, empathy, whereas men tend to be task-oriented, less talkative, and more isolated. Men have a more difficult time understanding emotions that are not explicitly verbalized. This is part of where I have an issue with flirting. Anyways, well, women tend to be more, in tune with emotions and emotional cues. These differences explain why men and women have difficulty communicating, and why men-to-men friendships look different from friendships among women. Now, that was pretty much pure paragraph what that says. And for some people who don't get why that's significant, is that overall, and one of the biggest things that I am really not a fan of when it comes to third-way feminism here in the Western world, is that it talks about how men are out to get them, men are rapists, rape apologists, and once again, this is an actual study done by Ohio University. So, I'm not really going off anything that is unfounded. This is an actual study done by a university. And basically what they're giving here is a simplified version of what they found. And I'm going to dumb it down even further for people who are not aware of what any of this means. So basically what it's saying is that women, once again, when we're talking about the brain, women have a giant plate of spaghetti noodles, while men are compartments, basically. Men do not really use emotions when it comes to thinking things through, or their friendships. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my friends to death. And there's not a lot of verbal communication when it comes to doing something stupid. We just kind of like, yep. And then that's it, we go do something stupid. Women, on the other hand, I don't know. I don't have too many female friends. I have a few, and that's about it. So when it comes down to talking with them and talking with my guy friends, it is a bit different. When I'm talking to a female friend, they want me to pick up on emotional cues, which sometimes I can. Not always, but sometimes I can. But I tend to be more straightforward with the issues while they are going off on the emotional tangent of said issues. Some of these emotional issues I do and can relate to, Some of them I just sit there and I don't get what the hell's going on. But less about me, more about what's going on here. You know, and like it says in this, men have a hard time understanding emotions. It's not something that we verbally express very often unless we're severely pissed off or severely sad, or it has to be a severe emotion in order for us to really talk about them. And part of the reason why is that in my generation, at the very least, growing up, I was raised in a home where men were supposed to take care of everything around them, the ones that they love. And when you go for that approach, you have to be both physically and mentally strong and emotionally strong, because there are some things that you will have to deal with in life that will be mentally and emotionally taxing, and you have to learn. And once again, this is based just off the way I was raised. For me personally, this isn't for everybody. But I was raised to believe that I had to be strong emotionally, physically, and mentally in order to be a good man. And I still believe in these virtues. I do. And I do believe in these policies. And don't get me wrong, if you talk to any of my friends, I have broken down and cried before. I have smiled in complete happiness, and I have absolutely screamed in absolute anger. But on a day-to-day basis, I tend to have a very neutral look on my face, which is pretty much what you're seeing now. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. And I know that some people are going to be telling me that I'm using emotional argumentative principles here, and I'm not trying to. What I'm doing is I'm just saying it from my point of view, And this is an open forum. I highly encourage debate. I encourage conversation, and if this does go anywhere, and I do get people commenting and asking questions, or they want me to answer a question for them, or they want me to ask questions of them to figure out and get a better understanding, I'm fine with that. The one thing I will not tolerate, though, is I will not tolerate name calling or cussing when it is unnecessary. If you are trying to make a point about something really important, then using a cuss word I can deal with. But if you're just start insulting me for no reason or just to insult me, I'm probably not going to pay attention to it. Like I said, I love debate. I love encouraging debate. That's part of why I'm doing this, is because I like debate. It's one of the things me and my friends do when we go do stupid stuff. But we do the intelligent talking first, and then we do something stupid. Anyways, back to the 10 big differences between men's and women's brain. So, like I said, we already went over number 2, which was left versus both hemispheres of the brain. So we're going to skip down to 3, which is called mathematical abilities. Number 3, an area of the brain called the failure bilateral. Blah, blah, blah. I'll put the link up so that way you guys can read that. Like I said, I'm horrible at English reading. It's not my strong suit. Anyways, it's typically larger in men, especially on the left side, than in women. This section of the brain is thought to control mental mathematical ability, and probably explains why men frequently perform higher in mathematical tasks than women do. Interestingly, this is the same area of Einstein's brain that was discovered to be abnormally large. The I'm sorry, I did that wrong. The IPL also processes sensory information, and the larger right side in women allows them to focus on specific stimuli, such as a baby crying in the night. I don't really need to go into that one all too much, because that's part of what we were talking about when we were talking about the left side hemisphere of the brain and both sides of the brain. So, moving on to number 4, reaction to stress. Number 4, men tend to have a fight or flight response to stress situation, while women seem to approach these situations with a tend and befriend strategy. Psychologist Shelley E. Taylor coined the phrase tend and befriend after recognizing that during times of stress, women take care of themselves and their children, tending, and form strong group bonds, befriending. The reason for these different reactions to stress is rooted in hormones. The hormone oxytocin is released during stress in everyone. However, estrogen tends to enhance oxytocin and resulting in calming and nurturing feelings, where testosterone, which men produce in high levels during stress, reduce the effects of oxytocin. Now, basically what this is saying is that women and men take a different approach to stress situations, which honestly could make sense when it comes to the career paths that women sometimes tend to choose. Men tend to choose jobs that require a higher physical demand than women do. Women tend to take fields that deal more with people. And this is done by many studies. I've seen it in many studies. I can't quote any of them right now. I know they're out there. So don't hate me because you think I'm pulling out of my ass. I'm not. You can go out and look for the information. I'm not going to take the time to look for it right now. If you want me to, I shall. Other than that, hands off. You know, it is true though. I've seen it in many women and a lot of female friends that I know, and just a lot of females I know, is that they tend to not try to run away. They try to handle the situation differently. While in a high stress situation, due to we as men usually try to stand up and fight, and if it doesn't work, we fall back basically. So that's number 4. Number 5, language. 2 sections of the brain responsible for language are found to be larger in women than in men, indicating one reason that women typically excel in language-based subjects and language-associated thinking. Additionally, men typically only process language in their domain hemisphere, where women process language in both hemispheres. This difference offers a bit of protection in case of a stroke. Women may be able to fully recover Women may be able to recover more fully from a stroke affecting the language areas in the brain, while men may not have this same advantage. Now, this is going back to number 2. No, I'm sorry. I believe it was number 3. Yeah, number 2. I was right. Number 2, where we were talking about the idea that women are better in language than men are, just as men are better in math than women are. This goes back to that point. So, moving on. Number 6, emotions. Women typically have a larger, deep limbic system than men, which allows them to be more in touch with their feelings and better able to express them, which promotes bonding with others. Because of this ability to connect, more women serve as caregivers for children. The downside for this larger, deep limbic system is that it also opens women up to depression, especially during times of hormonal shifts, such as after childbirth or during a woman's menstrual cycle. So, once again, going back to how the brain works. Women, as it says right here, straight black and white on my screen, it says that women tend to be more in touch with their emotions, which I'm sure we as a whole human race can pretty much agree on. Because once again, I think I smiled once at the beginning of this video. I think I did. Yeah, no, I did once. Anyways, so when it comes down to it, that's what you're looking at right now. That women, yes, tend to be more in touch with their emotions. Not to say that men aren't, because, like I said, men do cry, we do get angry, and we do have bits of depression. In fact, statistically, men tend to commit suicide more than women. But we'll get into that at a later time when I bring statistics based on the wage gap and other things. Basically, what I want to do is I want to go based off facts and the things that I find. And most of the time, I will be doing pure paragraph of what these studies say as opposed to summing them up. The only thing I will be doing will be simplifying the process for people to understand, or people who are more like me and simple-minded and just kind of want the basic synopsis of what's going on. So, number 7, brain size. Typically, men's brains are 11 to 12% bigger than women's brains. The size difference has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence, but it is explained by a difference in physical size between men and women. Shocker, men are bigger. Men have more neurons to control their greater muscle mass and larger body size, this generally having a larger brain. So, this is part of... Now, granted, the study is about the differences between men and women's brains, but it also kind of breaks down into the physical aspects of why men are different from women. And basically what this is saying is that men typically tend to be more muscular and just bigger just overall, while women tend not to be. And it's true. I mean, there's women out there who do weightlifting, and last time I checked, the best way for them to help gain muscle mass is, well, testosterone injections, basically, which help create muscle mass. Sorry, that's the way it is. Guys were built to make muscle, and women were not as much. So this is science. All right, don't get mad at me. All right, number 8, pain. This is probably my favorite, quite honestly. Men and women perceive pain differently. In studies, women require more morphine than men to reach the same level of pain reduction. Women are more likely to vocalize their pain and to seek treatment for their pain than are men. The area of pain that is activated, the area of the brain that is activated during pain is the amygdala. I pray to God I said that right. And researchers have discovered that in men, the right amygdala is activated, and in the women, the left amygdala is activated. The right has more connections with areas of the brain that control external functions, while the right has more connections with internal functions. The difference probably explains why women perceive pain more intensely than men do. Once again, this goes into the physical differences of men and women, basically saying that men tend to not feel as much pain because of the differences in how our brains work. So once again, this is part of the reason why you will probably never see too many sports intermingled between the sexes, because it's this overall men are programmed to be more physical and to deal with physical pain better than women are. And once again, this is a study. This is not my personal beliefs. This is an actual study from 2009 from the Ohio University. So I repeat, do not criticize me for reading what they are saying. And if you feel like it, like I said, I will put the link in the description of this video. Now, number 9, spatial ability. Men typically have a stronger spatial abilities, or being able to mentally represent a shape in schematics, where women typically struggle in this area. Medical experts have discovered that women have a thicker partial region of the brain, which hinders the ability to mentally rotate objects as an aspect of spatial ability. Spatial ability, probably. Anyways, continue on. Research has shown this ability in babies as young as 5 months old. Negating any ideas that these abilities were strengthened by environmental influences. So basically what that's saying is that men have a better idea, can actually take an object and kind of make it into a 3D dimension and kind of look at it from all angles without actually having to pick up the object, while women have a hard time doing this. This is basically the only thing that this is saying, is that guys have the ability to take something and kind of look at it from all angles, while women tend to have a hard time doing that. That's basically all that's going on. And this is mostly like shapes and the thematics of the situation than anything else. So moving on. Number 10, success, and this is the last of the list. Okay, I'm not even gonna bother to try to read that word. Basically, it's about disorders and how susceptible you can be to disorders based on your brain. Because of the way, and once again, now I'm about to pure paragraph this. Because of the way men and women use the two hemispheres of the brain differently, there are some disorders that men and women are susceptible to in different ways. Men are more apt to have dyslexia or language problems. If women have dyslexia, they are more likely to compensate for it. Women, on the other hand, are more susceptible to mood disorders such as depression and anxiety. While handiness is not a disorder, these brain tendencies also explain why men are left-handed, or why more men are left-handed than are women. Women are more likely to be diagnosed with autism, ADHD, and Tourette's syndrome. Now, that's the whole list. I don't know if I'll honestly keep doing videos like this or not, but basically what we saw in this whole thing, and now to this kind of sum up Men and women think differently. Men and women have different ways of going about things. Men are more task oriented. We tend to like look at it. We're mission oriented basically. We look at the mission, we see the mission, we see the parameters of what needs to be done, and we just go and get it done. There's not a whole lot of verbal communication because we all have a general idea of what's going on. And like I said, men don't tend to communicate as well as women. And this is what I believe. I honestly do think this is an actual thing. Men tend to have more of a hive mind when it comes to working together. It's not, I mean, there's certain things that need communication, no doubt. But overall, I think men more or less tend to have a hive mind when it comes down to, okay, this is how what we need to do, accomplish in the story. While women tend to talk it through and figure out what's best for everybody. This is why I believe that most men go into jobs such as construction or just basically anything that demands physical labor, which once again, as we saw on the list, men tend to be bigger, have more muscle mass, and be more tolerant to pain. Don't judge me, it's literally what it says. So, if I've contradicted myself in any way while reading these, feel free to express it in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to address it and anything that I may have messed up. Once again, language, not my strong suit. So when I'm reading some of these words and I say them wrong, don't be afraid to point out of your ear. Don't be a douche about it, but don't be afraid to point it out. Anyways, that's all I got for now. Like I said, short video. Well, I think it's a short video. I don't know anymore. Yeah, about half an hour. That's not bad. Anyways, so that's basically it. I got nothing else. By the way, for anyone who is wondering, yes, that is the Hatchet Man flag behind me. Yes, I am a juggalo. Yes, you may criticize me all you want for it. I really don't care. Anyways, that's all I got for you. You'll have a good night or good morning, good day, whatever the hell is going on in your life right now. I'm going to drink my Coke, and then I'm going to go outside for a cigarette and continue my day. Smile. Have a Coke.